Welcome back to the Dadlife podcast. I went on that date and instantly I knew that I was going to like her. We had such a nice time. We talked and we laughed and we ended up, I don't know, I've probably seen her 7 times now and with plans to see her again in a couple days. And we've spent some really good time together and things are like I don't think they could be any better. Back to present day. That relationship lasted almost 4 years. So there was something about her in that first meeting where I knew that we were going to be together. Unfortunately, it didn't work out in the end. This week actually marks a year since I decided to leave that relationship. I don't really want to go into details about it, but I'm finally feeling like my old self again. I've gotten back into music, writing my own music, and I decided to start this podcast again. Last year, before we broke up, she was away for a few months, and my old friend Ryan, who was on episode 4 of this podcast, if you want to go back and listen to that, we started to go out for dinner once a week. So I think it might have been our second or third time going out where I started to tell him everything, how I was feeling about my relationship. Everything that I was thinking in my head but hadn't said out loud yet. He only had one thing to say to me. He said, "Do you really want to feel this way the rest of your life?" I didn't sleep that night. I was thinking about it and I told myself I was going to see how she was in the morning. And the next day, I ended it. That's all I needed to hear. It was really hard to leave, but I knew that it was the right decision. After that, I had all the normal stuff, not sleeping, sad, feeling sick to my stomach. But over time, that went away. Once again, I'm on all the dating apps, got my dating folder on my phone. I thought I was ready months ago, but have realized that I wasn't. I'm starting to feel ready now, but I haven't been on any dates since February, I think, and it's now September. Being very picky. I was re-listening to some of these podcast episodes, and it's funny talking about online dating and my dating rules, and everything is exactly the same. Nothing's changed, like almost 5 years later now. And honestly, I see so many of the same people too. But over this last year, I got back into writing my own music. I've recorded a bunch of songs. This week, I also have a 5-song EP coming out called What's Your Game? I've released 2 songs prior to that too. The reason why I got back into writing was I was just remembering, like, what did I do to get over these relationships? And writing is like therapy to me. So I wrote one song called Confusing, put that out, and then I actually wrote a song called Do You Really Want to Feel This Way the Rest of Your Life, about that whole conversation with Ryan and how I was feeling then. And then it's just continued. I already have stuff scheduled for next year coming out. I wrote my first Christmas song that's coming out next month that I'm really excited about. I've also discovered that I love walking along the beach. I've been doing that on days off. I make myself a coffee in the morning and I'll go there and I'll put in my AirPods and just walk. I'll listen to a whole album. It's normally this band called Sponge. They're still together, but they're big in the 90s. Their first album's called Rotting Pinata, and I will listen to that whole album start to finish while I'm walking, or I'll sit for a bit, or it depends. But I just love that fresh air. I love the sound of the ocean too, because I can hear it through my AirPods. I love the view, and that's been some really, really good self-care for me. My oldest daughter and I have been going for a lot of drives, like 3 hours, crank the music, sing. I've been loving that. And these weekly meals with Ryan. That's like therapy to me too. He's always got some great advice for me, and he's just always there. I plan to have him back on this podcast. Our episode that we did, I re-listened to today, and it's like, I don't know, an hour and a half long, but I laughed so hard in certain spots. I love how we talk together and like we're so different, but yet we get along and we're great friends. And yeah, he's just so great. Relationships that don't work often leave behind valuable lessons. Some of these lessons can include self-awareness, which, I feel like I learned that. You learn more about your own needs, boundaries, and patterns. The importance of communication. Poor communication is often a key factor in relationships ending, highlighting the need for clarity and openness. I feel like that is something that is always a struggle for people, and they need to keep working at it. Compatibility matters. I was listening to a previous episode, and I said in it that I wanted to date a mom. And ended up not dating a mom. And I learned that love alone isn't always enough. Shared values, goals, and lifestyles play a huge role. Red flags, you become more attuned to warning signs in future relationships. Looking back, I can spot a few that I missed. Breakups always push you to focus on your own development and healing. And that kind of goes back to what I was talking about with writing and, going for walks and going for dinner. It's so important to take time for your mental health. What I learned, in February, I actually did meet somebody. I went out with her a couple times. Thought she was great, but it wasn't the right time. I didn't feel ready. Even the right person at the wrong time can lead to a breakup. Lastly, I think forgiveness. You learn the importance of forgiving both yourself and the other person in order to move on. And for a while, I just felt angry. Over time, I've tried to see things from her perspective, and, we just weren't meant to be. Anyways, for some of these upcoming episodes, I'll be talking about how things are with the kids older. Some of these other episodes I re-listen to, I talk about things that could potentially happen in the future, which are literally happening now. This whole year too, I've also been struggling with the fact that they're growing up, getting older, and not wanting to come over as much anymore. I just feel like I got lots to talk about. I just wanted to release one episode and kind of say that it's coming back. If you want to ask any questions or have any ideas for the podcast, feel free to send a message or comment. Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, it's all Dadlife Pod. Until next time, thank you for listening.